Hari Om, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Today is like our last session for the year. Today's agenda, we have Nirmata Dholakia. She's going to do the satsang. And then after that, we'll have our speaker, Dr. Kalyani Perumal, and I'll introduce her later on. So Nirmata ji, you can take it over and start with the prayer.
Sure. Thank you, Pushpaji, for inviting. We'll start with Om. Om. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Hari Om, everyone. Namaskar. So, we just chanted a simple yet profound mantra for peace in the world. And today's topic is chanting for spiritual health. We all know that we are living in Kali Yuga. And we just chanted a mantra for peace in the world. But in Kali Yuga, Glani and Adharma will be increasing. Otherwise, the Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, how will it happen? Then what is the use of chanting a mantra? If you know Kali Yuga, it's going to thicken, it's going to bring a lot of adharma. And then finally, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge will happen. So why chant a mantra even? Why bother? A mantra is a way to connect with the divine. It is to keep us calm, collected, stable, and least affected by all the negative energies inside us and around us. Since a long time, ancient times, centuries ago, chanting has been used as a way to calm the mind and uplift the spirit. In hopes of experiencing peace, clarity, and when one chants consistently, it can definitely give the ultimate experience of union with the divine. Let us explore a little bit into what is a mantra and how does it calm the mind. Mana is mind. Trayate is to protect. Our rishis didn't come up with mantras and call it a mantra for no reason. It is for a very good reason. These mantras were revealed to them. So mananat trayate iti mantra. Some say manat, some say mananat. Trayate iti mantra. When you deeply think about it in your mind, mananat, it can liberate the mind. A mantra is what protects the mind from negative energies. So what is a mantra? That was the definition, obviously. Mantra is a sound. It could be a word, it could be a syllable, or it could be a sentence that holds significant amount of energy within itself. Each mantra resonates a certain definite frequency. It is unique to each mantra differently. Thus, it is a way to uplift our thoughts and emotions, elevating the mind from the material to the spiritual realm. It's a shift. Lift the mind and then shift the entire perspective. It brings us calmness, harmony, grounding, and stability. Whenever the mind feels even a little agitated, and it does, because everything doesn't go according to what we wish, how we think things should go. So it can get agitated. Start chanting a simple mantra. Any simple mantra. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Our Guruji's favorite mantra. And just feel the magic. It will help in removing the feelings of anger, frustration, even sadness. Because when we feel agitated, there is an element of sadness we feel. What is wrong? Why aren't things going the way I thought? There is a sadness behind it. It can calm the mind out of anger and frustration and even sadness. I can't go deeper into the emotions because it'll take more than 20 minutes. So chanting a mantra helps one align with the vibrations of the entire universe. By tuning our mind with that particular mantra, we bring it into a harmony with the higher vibrations. Connecting the chanter with the forces of the universe, which are divine, immediately. See, whichever deity one believes in, or even the universal forces, if you will. Before we created all these forms of deities, people prayed to the universal forces. Chanting can serve as a bridge. We feel I'm here and that is there. Chanting creates that bridge, the setu, between you and those higher powers. The mind learns to stay in the present, centered and focused. And this practice helps in other areas of life too, like regular working or studying, or even when one is artistically engaged. Sculptors. There's a nice story about the sculpting, right? The crude rock that the sculptor actually sculpts out of, with so much concentration, and suddenly we see an absolutely beautiful idol in front of us. That is the connection, that is the bridge. It could be music, dancing, painting, what have you, without being distracted amidst thoughts of past or present, or future rather. Just being in the present. And a consistent practice of chanting leads one towards meditation. Repeating continuously, consistently, it can lead to meditation. And what happens with regular meditation thereafter? Clarity of thought deepens. One develops a deep, penetrating power. And because of that penetrating power, what happens? One actually experiences an expansion of vision. We just had a study group this morning in the Indiana Omkara Center, and we were talking about how a single sun ray penetrating through a magnifying glass can spread and burn the entire paper. Similarly, a single thought, when penetrated into, dived into, during meditation, can turn into a dynamic fireball. It may or may not last for us sansaris, because we do get back into the regular rut. But it is something to keep practicing again and again. That is how the Maharishis, they have purified their thoughts. To what extent? Where these powerful mantras are actually revealed to them in their deepest moments of meditation. For example, Maharshi Vishwamitra, who is also called Rajashri, Raj Rishi Vishwamitra, because he is a king, he was a king turned ascetic. So Raj Rishi. To him, the Gayatri mantra was revealed, the most powerful mantra. We all know the story of Vishwamitra. No need to go into that. Gayantam trayate iti Gayatri. For one who chants this 24-syllabled Gayatri mantra, it opens up that person to the heart of reality. Awakening the dhi. Each mantra is so loaded with potent syllables. Dhi is the higher intelligence in you. Even it opens up the intuitive faculties. According to the Vedas, there are 5 faculties of higher intelligence that are mentioned. Dhi, that is the spiritual heart. Medha, which is it's a very bright higher intellect, which is opened up. Then there is a prajna, which is a higher awareness. Then dhriti is the higher will. Then of course, there's smriti. It's a great memory. Gayatri mantra awakens all these powerful faculties. Talk about spiritual unfoldment. Spiritual well-being. All these 5 powerful faculties are opened up. Awakening one's transcendental knowledge. Higher faculties, where else can it lead? Transcendental knowledge. In Kali Yuga, it is perhaps the best way for spiritual growth. Easiest, best way. But it's not as easy as the word easy, because there's a lot of concentration required. And also, if possible for some, hopefully, it can attain spiritual liberation or moksha. And believe me, moksha can only be attained while one is alive. If one dies with the vasana still lurking in the subconscious, he or she will pick up exactly where one left off. So Jivan Mukti is the only Mukti possible. So in our life, as high as we can climb, try to do that. Next life, we will pick up where we left off. Liberation while alive. Let us see one practical example. We will chant just Om Namah Shivaya 6 times. About 10 seconds each time. You can close your eyes if you want. Om Namah Shivaya. Deep breath. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Notice your heart rate go down. Notice your breath slowing down. And whether we notice it or not, it has stimulated the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our network of nerves that relaxes us after a period of stress. Nature walks do the same thing, provided we enjoy the nature and remember the Lord. What is Maya? Brahman plus that Ishvara that we see around is nothing but Brahman plus Maya makes the manifested Ishvara. This is very similar to the popular mindful meditation also. It will lead to reduced heart rate, lowers the stress hormones, improves the blood vessels, the relaxation in there, lowering the blood pressure, both systolic as well as the diastolic. All this while regulating your breathing. It's a kind of pranayam at the same time. It has also been proven to reduce anxiety and stress. All the endomorphins really are coming out. It creates a mental stillness. It redirects our attention to the peaceful divine experience, which we very badly need. See, Pushpaji is already relaxing. Now, as far as our emotional well-being is concerned, chanting definitely enhances emotional well-being. How? These mantras have a certain vibration and resonance, actually cleansing the negative toxic energies within us and around us, thus removing the mental impurities. And what does that do? It induces calmness, gratitude, a sense of grounding, stability, positive vibrations. It also acts, obviously, therefore, as a mood lifter. So, lowering the hypertension naturally, without any extra effort. So pick up a mantra of your choice and chant it sincerely, repeatedly, with faith, with respect. Absorb each syllable, each intonation, how it's supposed to be chanted. And let it glide you through the meditative stage. Allow it to bring you, the meditator, to a single point of awareness. Awakening the soul to the path, towards the path, on its path, towards attaining, very big word, enlightenment. But yes, this will open up our spiritual heart. For sure, guaranteed. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Nirmata ji. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Great to hear. So we'll go on to the next part of our session today. I'm going to be introducing Dr. Kalyani Perumal. Kalyani, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. Once I'm done introducing, then you can share your screen or you can come on the. Okay. So first of all, Dr. Kalyani Perumal is a board-certified internist and nephrologist with over 20 years of experience, both in acute inpatient settings and ambulatory outpatient settings. She is currently the chairperson of the nephrology department at Cook County Health, which is called Stroger's Hospital now. It used to be called Cook County Hospital. And she's deeply committed to raising awareness about kidney disease to promote early detection. She is actively engaged in initiatives like kidney screening events in the community. She's also very passionate about integrative health and incorporating Ayurvedic principles into her practice. She is also my yoga student, and she embraces a holistic approach to practice and medicine. So I'm going to welcome Dr. Perumal to take over.
Thank you, Pushpaji, for the kind introduction. I'm not sure if, after Nirmata ji's chanting and the divine, I'm just pulling everybody down to, our bodies. So let's dive into what
body
we
is
can
important
do
to do all those things. No, you need all of the body to do all of those things that she talked about. So it's very important.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Pushpaji, for inviting me to do this talk. This is very near and dear to me. I'll start with a story. In my personal family, my nephew was diagnosed with kidney disease about 6 months after his marriage. And of course, he was taken to the hospital and he had very advanced kidney disease that none of us knew, and he had to go on dialysis. And that was very shocking for us because it was a healthy young adult and no symptoms at all. But then suddenly, this happened. So this is very near and dear to me about how can we, take action to protect our kidney health. So today we'll be discussing about why kidney health matters and what steps we can take to protect it. I'm going to start with a very jarring statistic. Kidney disease is often called a silent epidemic. In US, we have about 37 million people affected by kidney disease. and 1 in 3 adults are at risk for kidney disease. So within this group, if you can imagine, 1 in 3 of us are at risk for kidney disease. And 1 in 3 adults with diabetes and 1 in 5 adults with high blood pressure may have kidney disease. So it's such a frequent problem, but often underdiagnosed and undetected. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happened to my nephew. 9 in 10 adults do not know that they have kidney disease. And that's why it's very important to understand how can we detect them very early on so we can prevent the progression of the kidney disease. In India, in addition to having diabetes and hypertension as the major culprits, there are other unique risk factors like environmental pollution, lack of safe water, overcrowding, consanguineous relationships, and infections all add to the risk of kidney disease. And it's estimated by 2030, India will have the largest population with diabetes, and more than 50% may have kidney disease that is totally unknown and unseen until they are diagnosed in late stages. So this is a really harsh statistic to start with, but it's also important to be aware of the risk so we can take action very early on. So today I'll be outlining the function of the kidneys. What are the common causes? In addition to diabetes and hypertension, there are several causes that we should be aware of, and simple measures to protect our kidney health. So kidneys, as we know, we have 2. Many of us are born with 2 kidneys. However, a small proportion are born with 1 kidney. And they're often not diagnosed until late when they come to medical attention for other reasons. Many of us are born with 2 kidneys, size of the fist, which is under the rib margin. And if you think about the kidney structure, it's literally like a bag of Cheerios, and each one is like a filtering unit called nephron. And we have about 1 million filtering units through which the blood passes and removes the waste products and the toxins. In addition to working as our efficient filtration system, it also produces very important hormones. One is called erythropoietin, that's absolutely required to produce new red cells, and also has an enzyme to activate the vitamin D that we take in to maintain the bone health. It regulates the water balance in the body, and also it regulates the electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and other minerals in the body. In addition, it maintains the water balance in the body. And you all might notice, if you drink a lot of water, especially in winter, we want to go to the bathroom too often because the body realizes that we don't need that much of water, so the kidney automatically gets rid of the water. Similarly, in a hot weather, when you don't drink enough water, you don't make a lot of urine. So every minute, the kidney is filtering, at the same time assessing the needs of the body in terms of water, in terms of the electrolytes. It regulates very important electrolytes and minerals like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and it's all maintained in balance. So it's a 24/7 operation. Throughout every second, every minute, it's adjusting the electrolytes and minerals in the body to maintain that balance. As I said before, it is important for regulation of the blood pressure as well as the blood sugar in the body. And if you think about most of the medications that we use for treating kidney disease, it's really kind of managing all of the physiological parameters. So you may hear the term called chronic kidney disease. What do we mean by chronic kidney disease? It means that this kidney function is lost over a long period of time before they start having symptoms. And it is fascinating to know that each of these, since we have 1 million filtering units, as we lose some filtering units, either because of diabetes or blood pressure or some medication or infection, the other filtering units actually pick up the function for the lost ones. So they go into this called hyperfiltration mechanism, where they continue to adapt and overwork until they reach a point that they cannot do more. And that's when it becomes an irreversible stage. Our goal is to find out in the reversible stage so we can protect the remaining nephrons to continue to work effectively and efficiently. So when you hear the term chronic, that means we're talking about a kidney disease that's been present for several years, and likely to be irreversible. So as we talked about the causes, diabetes and high blood pressure are the leading causes. Other causes are kidney stones, and we have some patients with family history of kidney stones that, when it left untreated, can lead to kidney disease. Kidney cyst, and these are congenital conditions where it passed on from generation to generation, where the entire kidney structure may be replaced by kidney cyst. So over time, they don't have any more kidney function left, since all the kidney structure is occupied by the cyst, and that's when they come to our attention because of high blood pressure or because of blood in the urine and other symptoms that I'll be talking about. For us, very important to remember the kidney damage by infections, toxins, and drugs. Infections, like even as simple as sore throat, can affect the kidney in certain patients. Pneumonias, urinary infections, all of those have potential to affect the kidney function. Toxins and drugs are major because we don't even realize what we take in and how it's metabolized and cleared by the kidneys. And I have to point out here, the drugs and toxins, it's not only what's prescribed by the physicians, it's what we also buy over the counter. For example, painkillers like Advil, naproxen, ibuprofen, even one dose can damage the kidney. So it's very important to understand why these painkillers are being used and how it's used and how it can affect the kidney. Other things that we are seeing nowadays are all the over-the-counter supplements like turmeric and all of those things that are sold over the internet, right? So all of those can cause significant kidney damage, and it can go to irreversible damage. So it's very important to understand anything that we take in, the liver and the kidney does the job, and if the kidneys can metabolize, it can lead to kidney damage. So it's important to understand that, especially the painkillers, which are notorious for causing kidney disease, and usually we don't find it until late stages. The other big category is kidney damage by blockage of ureters. And this is seen in elderly men where there is prostate enlargement. It is very slow enlargement. So it can totally block the urine flow from the kidneys down the ureters to the bladder. So they may not even realize, and they may adapt to the symptoms. For example, they've noticed like some weakening of the urine stream, or they may take a little longer to initiate the urine stream, or the urine stream can come and go, or sometimes, they'll continue to urinate a lot more in the night than during the daytime. Those are all subtle symptoms that most of them get adjusted to, and they don't even think it's a problem. So when you notice a change in the urine pattern, it's always good to check with the doctor to say, is there something that we need to, investigate? So kidney damage by prostate enlargement is common in elderly men. Same thing in women, when we have uterine fibroids, if the fibroids are enlarging in size, they can compress on the ureters, which are the tubes that drain the urine from the kidney to the bladder, and that can also cause, damage to the kidney. The ones that we don't want to miss are the cancers in the prostate, uterus, and the cervix. So if at all, if you have a postmenopausal woman, having some sort of spotting, a mild bleeding, that is a symptom that you should not ignore at all, because that can suggest either a cervical problem or a uterine problem, which may lead to kidney disease down the road. More importantly, you don't want to miss early signs of cancer. In addition to all of this, we do have genetic diseases, and that's what we suspected in my review, because there was another aunt who had similar kidney disease, and we didn't know anything about it. So genetic diseases are also prevalent, and autoimmune diseases like lupus, vasculitis can also cause kidney disease. Symptoms. I have to say, often asymptomatic. They don't feel anything. And this is a common thing I hear from my patients. Well, I'm making urine every day, so how could I have kidney problem? And that's often the early stages where you don't have any symptoms. When it's late stages, they may have some tiredness, some weakness, some fatigue, poor appetite, Sometimes change in the urine color, blood in the urine. Sometimes they may have more urination at night, as I mentioned, or they may be having some straining symptoms, or swelling of the legs and the face, and persistent headaches. So when you look at all of these symptoms, it's often ignored as something that happens day to day. Tiredness and weakness, every one of us can have it and not even pay attention to it. So it's almost like, as, we have to pay attention how we are feeling, and if we notice any changes, it's worth kind of monitoring, saying, okay, maybe this is something I need to discuss with my doctor, okay? Urine color is important. We generally don't look at our urine at all, and sometimes once in a while we need to look at the urine. Okay, is this light yellow? Is it dark? Or is it looking a little bubbly? And I will talk more about protein in the urine. Sometimes patients say that they see that the urine is very frothy and very bubbly, hard to flush. And that might be the earliest sign of a significant kidney damage. So how can we test for kidney disease? Very, very simple, but often ignored. Simple blood test, simple urine test that's widely available, done at every clinic visit in our primary care offices. So we do some basic metabolic profile, which often includes the serum creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product that we all produce every day. If the kidneys are efficient and they're functioning normally, this creatinine will be excreted in the urine. So the level of creatinine in the blood is almost always less than 1. Ranges vary from lab to lab, but however, most often it's less than 1. So if we notice that the serum creatinine is at the upper limit of normal or higher than the normal range, then we need to repeat it a couple of times to see, is that signaling kidney disease? Because if the level in the blood goes up, that means the kidney is not able to get rid of it. And that's the reason the serum creatinine is up in the blood. And we use this serum creatinine level and plug into different equations to estimate the glomerular filtration rate, which I'll talk about in the next couple of slides. And that gives a measure, an estimate of the kidney function. The next is urine tests. Urine tests are done to detect protein and blood in the urine. It could be a simple dipstick, which may detect protein. For patients who do have high blood pressure and diabetes, we should definitely do a test called urine microalbumin, like small amounts of protein in the urine, because that is often the earliest sign for kidney damage. And sometimes the primary care physicians, they may not do this, but that is a mandatory test for any patient with diabetes and high blood pressure to detect the early signs of kidney injury. So question comes, do we lose kidney function as we get older? Because just like all the cells, are we losing these nephrons? Are we, getting this kidney function, lower than usual? Yes, the answer is everyone loses some kidney function as we get older. And that's the reason why we use other equations to estimate the kidney function in the elderly. Having said that, any changes in the kidney function, any drop in kidney function must be investigated and cannot be ignored as a normal aging phenomenon when you see low kidney function. Other question that often comes, does two kidneys work the same, or one is better than the other? How does it work for when we have two kidneys? It's hard to say how much each kidney contributes to the function. Generally, we say it's 50-50, but if patients have high blood pressure or a kidney stone or a kidney cyst, the function can vary. And again, as I said, each filtering unit picks up for the lost one and continues to work longer than what we expect. Now coming to glomerular filtration rate, normal is 90 or higher. However, this can change depending on the individual patient, given the age, the muscle mass, and all gender. And that's one of the reasons why we always say, based on one value, we cannot say what your kidney function is. We need to know the trends. Sometimes, the kidney function might be 90, but next day you don't drink enough water or you're sick and you get your kidney function tested, it might be lower. So instead of jumping to conclusions, you want to have at least a series of 3 to 4 tests to determine if there's truly a kidney disease. Chronic kidney disease is defined as persistent elevation in the creatinine or drop in glomerular filtration rate for 3 months before we say there is kidney disease. And this helps us to estimate and also to stage the kidney disease. There are 5 stages of kidney disease, but again, that is something that, we can go later in the question section if you want to know more about it. So in terms of how do we take care of kidneys, that's the biggest question we get asked is like, now that we know we have kidney disease, what can we do? To be honest, there is really no magic pill or magic diet plan for taking care of kidney. A balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables, including high fiber, low salt, low cholesterol. And that's pretty standard. And that's a pretty healthy, plate for any diseases like diabetes or blood pressure or cholesterol. And the reason being, all of these diseases, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, are the ones that often cause the kidney problem. Most important is the sodium. When you take in a lot of sodium, the blood pressure can go up. And again, that can in turn cause kidney damage. We often ask patients to prepare their own food because any additives, any preservatives can be very harmful to the kidney. And of course, a low intake of processed food for the very same reasons. And I want to point out one of the things that we want to make sure is in addition to a healthy diet, when patients have kidney disease, we also recommend to reduce the animal protein because studies have shown high intake of animal protein can cause overworking of these filtering units, which in turn may cause some kidney damage. So as we have, the kidney function goes down, we actually encourage patients to moving towards a vegetarian meal from non-vegetarian. And most important thing I emphasize to my patients is get to know the nutrition labels. It is one of the easiest ways that you can change the diet. Understand what these nutrition facts means, what is serving size means, what calories means. For us, the most important is the sodium. Lesser the sodium, lesser the blood pressure, lesser the injury to the kidney. So as we get into the habit of, as Nirmata ji was talking about mindfulness, this is mindful shopping, really looking at the nutrition facts and selecting things that are low sodium and also less fat. Physical activity, and again, this goes for all the chronic diseases, exercising every day helps to maintain the blood pressure, maintain blood sugar, and also it helps in maintaining the flexibility. As we get older, we, start having some joint pains. Immediate rescue is a medication like ibuprofen or naproxen, and that over time becomes a habit. So we want to minimize the intake of any of these painkillers. So physical activity to maintain the flexibility, to maintain the balance, and also to maintain the bone strength. That is critical also for the bone health. In terms of, this is big, in terms of what can we take, to prevent kidney injury, nothing but water, water, water. Because water is the only thing, that's, if you think about the body composition, 60% of our body is water. So the best way to quench your thirst is water and avoid any, sugary drinks like Coke or anything. And the reason being, now we know that, taking these beverages, sodas, and other things can cause high uric acid, hence can cause gout, and it can lead to kidney disease. So when you have diabetes or high blood pressure, my biggest advice would be to avoid any sort of these sodas and stick with water. Then the next question comes, how much water to drink, right? The 8 glasses of water. Again, I would say, listen to your body. All of this thing about, 8 glasses is a myth, right? Your body will tell you when you're thirsty, you need to drink water. When you're not thirsty, there's no reason for you to take water as a prescription, saying, I got to drink this many glasses because that's what's been shown. It's not the case. Because when the kidneys are working, when you drink more than what's required, you're just going to urinate it out. And when you're not drinking water, the kidney is going to hold on to everything that you took in and not make urine. So just listen to your body, drink when you're feeling thirsty, and don't overdo water. Because we have also seen patients, who overdo the water and come with very low sodium and very low potassium, which is even more dangerous. So just listen to your body and drink enough and avoid the, sodas. Again, healthy lifestyle. People ask, how about a cigarette at a party, or how about an alcohol in a Christmas party? Again, there is no right or wrong answer. In this one, it's all about moderation, right? Smoking is absolutely injurious. We all know that, right? Smoking causes, vasoconstriction, meaning tightening of the blood vessels. It can lead to high blood pressure. Same thing with alcohol. And not alone it affects your diabetes and high blood pressure and kidneys, we also know it's a carcinogen, meaning it can cause cancer. So I would highly recommend smoking and alcohol are injurious to not only kidneys, for every other organ. Now we see patients with, use of cannabis. We definitely know cannabis can cause severe kidney injury as well, leading to a lot of protein leakage, which in turn causes, damage to the kidney structure. So again, avoiding all of those drugs and avoiding all of those alcohols and smoking, and then stress reduction is key. As Nirmata pointed out, simple as mantra chanting or meditation, anything that you can reduce the stress will reduce the blood pressure, hence, and also the sugar. So if you're, as you're listening to me, there's nothing really specific with kidneys. It's all about managing your diabetes, your blood pressure, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And that's what's important for the kidney health. So in terms of, and to summarize, diabetes and high blood pressure are the leading causes. But here I want to emphasize few things. Here we want everyone to become an active partner in the healthcare. What do I mean by that is you should definitely know your numbers. You have to get into the habit of getting your sugars checked every day, do an AccuCheck, at least have a log, what the sugars are when you wake up in the morning or after eating. Same thing for the blood pressure. If you do have high blood pressure, check your blood pressures, make a log, and take it to your doctor, because you need to know your numbers, because just by going up numbers at the clinic sometimes leads to either over medication or under medication. So having that trend is extremely helpful for your physician. And if you don't have an A1C checked in the last 3 months, then it's definitely important for someone to ask about the A1C. A1C is a blood test that's used to measure sugar, or gives an average blood sugar in the last 3 months, which is also very helpful in adjusting the regimen. And for patients who do have these diseases, ask for urine tests for detecting the protein, because that's when we can actually make a meaningful change in the treatment and help prevent any kidney disease progression. Know your medications, indications for all the medications that are given to you, and most importantly, the side effects. And if you do have history of kidney disease, you want to know what's your estimated glomerular filtration rate, because every medication needs to be adjusted for that level of kidney function. So it's important to know what your kidney function number is. Don't miss your clinic appointments, and that is something very important for nephrology is, as I said, most of the time you don't have any symptoms. Only way we know what your kidneys are doing by numbers, by blood tests, by urine tests. So if you miss your clinic appointments, you may not have an, a window to actually find out if there is any, kidney disease or what's happening with the trends in the kidney function. So please make sure you go for your clinic appointments, get your lab tests, and be an active partner in the healthcare. So that's, I think, that summarizes my presentation, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you so much, Kalyani. That was very, very informative. A lot of good points. So yeah, we'll open the floor up to, if you want to stop share, we can just go to gallery view so you can see everybody. Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. So if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hariom, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So if someone has an like a CKD 3.5, 4, whatever, at that point, and all dietary instructions that you have provided are being met, hypertension fluctuates in spite of all the care, what else can be done for diet? You mentioned not to take sugary drinks. What about caffeine?
Caffeine is, if you take about 1 glass or 1 cup of coffee, right, that's fine. But again, high caffeine intake, we know for sure increases the heart rate and increases the blood pressure. So you want to, at least limit the use of caffeine, especially when your kidney function is less than 30%, right? And we're talking about CKD stage 3, 4, for people listening, we are talking kidney function less than 30%. So that is a significant decline. So when we say kidney function is 30% or less, that means you've lost 70% of the kidney function. So you want to, minimize the caffeine intake so that your blood pressure doesn't go up and in turn, damages the kidney function or affects the kidney function.
And what kind of supplements for a vegetarian on a vegetarian diet, home cooked food, vitamin D and certain other supplements are being recommended. So which ones to avoid?
I would say, the supplements should be prescribed by the physician after testing those vitamin levels, because anything you take might be an overdose, especially if your kidneys are not working 100%, right? And we've seen patients who take vitamin D, and especially in the setting of kidney disease, we have something called vitamin D intoxication, where the levels are too high and the calcium can go up and in turn can damage the kidney. So my advice would be all supplements should be prescribed by the physician after checking those levels if they can, and adjust for the level of kidney function.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And one other thing I want to point out, even if you're interested in buying those herbal supplements, all of the supplements that are sold, please take it to your doctor, let them review all the ingredients and let you know if it is safe for you or not. Because we have seen patients who've taken, curcumin, which is the turmeric, right? And we have seen patients with liver failure and kidney failure because of that. So, I highly caution any supplement, just check with your doctor before you take anything.
Okay.
So Kalyani, I was
Animal protein, you mentioned animal protein. So does ghee and eggs come under that category,
Yes.
or you're just talking about meat?
No, eggs come under that too.
There we have Pushpa, dietitian.
So I couldn't hear since both were speaking. What is it?
Go ahead, Pushpa.
No, I was just going to say, yes, eggs are considered, I'm also a renal dietitian. So yeah, eggs are considered animal protein for sure. Yeah, it depends on how often you eat eggs, but that's why nowadays we talk more about a plant dominant diet. I know there are people who do eat meat. It's really hard to switch to completely vegetarian. So I suggest like a plant dominant diet. That's a different topic, maybe for another day, but definitely eggs to answer your question. The one question I want to ask you, Kalyani, I know you mentioned the curcumin since you talked about it just now. Have you had studies that show that? Because I know there are people who take it for inflammation and things like that. Do you have studies that show that actually causes kidney disease, or you just?
Actually, it was came out through NIH publication that there are cases reported with liver and kidney failure. And again, when you think about kidney, I always say it's an innocent bystander, right? Anytime you have damage to the heart, like heart failure, liver failure, they all can lead to kidney disease. So what the NIH, report said was most of these patients had liver failure, which probably also ended up with the kidney failure. Yeah. And again, if you think about it, we all add turmeric to our food, which is probably having micro quantities of curcumin. And when you look at those ingredients in the curcumin tablets, we're talking about milligrams, right? And so it's way too high, than what we can even, metabolize. And I think that's one of the reasons why they saw patients with liver failure.
Yeah, using it in cooking, it doesn't hurt. Plus, it has a lot of flavonoids, which are removed when you make it as a curcumin supplement. So that is a problem there. Yeah.
And also, like in turmeric, there's always another, it's not only
other
pure
things.
curcumin, right? They
Correct.
have other things that adds to it. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Dr.
Dr. Perumal,
questions.
thank you very much. It was just wonderful.
Oh,
What
you.
amazes me is that how beautifully the human body is designed by the Creator. It is just fantastic.
Oh my God, yes, yes.
You talked about like a jar of cereals is the filter. Is that it's great that it's filtering all these things, but is the filter itself is getting cleaned?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of, see, that's the beauty of, our kidneys, right? It has several, cells and structures that its own job too, right? So you will see, like when you actually do a microscopic, analysis or microscopic sections of these nephrons, you'll see multiple layers all interlaced and intertwined, and that's such a beautiful filtration membrane. That's one of the reasons I became a nephrologist, because I was just fascinated, like how second by second, minute by minute, it's adjusting. And I tell my patients, you're having a bag of chips, before the clinic visit, trust me, your blood pressure is going to be high and your creatinine is probably changing, according to that. So it's so dynamic, every second, it changes.
So as you said, any processed food, including chips, for example, is not good. Nope. And that's what the market is flooded with, and all the kids go for that. At the young age, probably it'll all tolerate, but as they get old, these things will creep in as some kind of a disease.
Yeah, and that is one of the reasons why, I actively am involved in National Kidney Foundation. And they have these kidney mobile screening. They take the whole crew to different schools and colleges and screen for blood pressure, diabetes, and kidney disease. I have to share, when we started this, probably I would say a decade ago, we went to one of the colleges, and about 30% of the participants had high blood pressure. And about another 40% had some abnormal urine, study, either protein or blood or something. And that was shocking. And that was one of the very first screening, we organized for college students. And that tells us, this starts very early on, even as, young, in middle school, right? So education, starts very early on, not only about, all the courses, but also about healthy lifestyle, right? Because, and it's all cumulative damage. It's not something that having, of course, there are patients who have acute kidney injury, but most of the things that we talk about is accumulative damage, right? I mean, and that's what we don't get to see early on and prevent it.
Over a period of time.
Yeah.
You talked about soda are bad for health. Obviously, it's bad for health for other things, even for heart and liver, etc. What about the fruit juices? What about like tender coconut juice? What about natural juices of any other kinds? Is that?
Again, it's all about moderation, right?
Moderation.
I mean, if you think about fruit juices, that's a lot of sugar. It is great, better than the soda, but it's still very high sugar, right? So if you consume that as a fruit, as a whole fruit, then your sugars are not going to get that high quicker, right? So that's a whole idea to talk about whole grain breads, eat as a whole fruit. Anything that you kind of, juice it or anything, it can lead to very high sugars. So, and again, kidney is the end result, right? Once you have high sugars and high blood pressure for long periods of time, that causes irreversible damage, so I would say consume it as a whole fruit rather than a fruit juice. Again, it's like you got to stop everything and change the entire diet, right? That's not the message here. It's all about moderation.
Moderation and sattvic lifestyle living. Okay.
Hello, doctor. And I had a question regarding the size of the physical size of a kidney in healthy individuals. Does it differ from person to person based on their individual body type? And does it have an effect on the functioning of the kidney?
So that's a great question. Generally, about 9 to 10 centimeters is considered normal. However, we need to take into account the body size, right? If patients are tall, that kidney size might be different compared to patients who are shorter. So there are a lot of factors, and it just gives you a good understanding of what's the average. But there are a lot more things that we look in ultrasound. For example, we talk about cortical thickness. We talk about, echoes within the kidney. So this is just like an average normal size kidney. And the physicians will be able to determine if that's appropriate for the body size.
I see.
But
Okay.
what we know, interestingly, is, patients who are, low birth weight or preterm, right? If they have small kidneys, it's like they are born with less than million nephrons. So it's all about the renal reserve at the time of birth, right? And that's the bank balance, sort of, you have that when you start your life and what happens during your life journey. So sometimes we see patients who are, were low birth weight or preterm, and over time they develop diabetes. Since they started with a smaller bank balance or smaller number of nephrons, they are at high risk for developing kidney damage from diabetes and blood pressure because they don't have million units to compensate for it. So it's very interesting. We are understanding to know what is it that you had at the time of birth.
I see. Okay. And so in terms of, so the indicators, I guess the tests are the good indicators of irrespective of the size. If it's functioning normal, it's fine. You don't have to worry about the size of the kidney as such.
Yes. The creatinine and urine. Always ask for urine test and check for protein.
Thank you, doctor.
So Sheila Konda, she has her hand up. If you want to go ahead and ask.
Yeah, hi. I'm actually a radiologist. I just wanted to comment on the cyst, but before I do that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we see them all the time. So, I mean, if I look at a CT and open it up now, there will be a cyst. And majority of them are simple, so I wouldn't worry about it. And the size doesn't seem that worrisome. Number two, I actually have another question. In perimenopausal, postmenopausal women, but also, others much older, there's a lot of, supplements are not regulated, but I do have a question about a supplement, creatine, and how do you monitor it? And I know a lot of studies. What do you think about the studies that are talking about it to reduce brain fog in perimenopause and menopause, but also for dementia for later?
Yeah. So of course, it's a very popular product. Again, there are no rigorous scientific studies, right, that has looked at creatinine as a supplement to improve the mental health or brain memory or anything like that. But what we know is creatinine definitely can affect the kidney function, right? Because it does get metabolized to creatinine. So we do see those measures. Interestingly, I remember one of the patients who was a young adult, bodybuilder, was referred by his physician, for elevated creatinine. And of course, he was healthy, young adult, no blood pressure, no diabetes, nothing except that he mentioned he was taking creatinine. So when we did the studies, we found that creatinine, it was falsely elevated in the blood, which translated to a lower kidney function estimate. And that's how we figured out creatinine itself can affect the measurement, right? And two, it may cause some tubular injury over time, not an acute, but over time. And that's why we always ask them, are you taking supplements before doing the serum creatinine test? And interestingly, in the last decade or so, anytime you get a serum creatinine measured, the lab automatically gives you the glomerular filtration rate. That's called automated reporting of the glomerular filtration rate, right? So if your creatinine is high, your GFR is going to be low. And what happened was, the primary care physicians, of course, got alerted about these abnormal values. And we also noticed that insurance companies were picking up on these and sending these patients to us saying, oh, this patient has a kidney disease. So you can see how it can play into not only actually identifying it, but also it goes into the other spaces like insurance, premiums, etc. So that's one of the reasons why, we ask the patients before we check it. And also we have others. So we use two equations to estimate the kidney function. One serum creatinine, the other one is serum cystatin, which is not affected by all of this creatinine. So if we suspect that this patient is using it and not, disclosing that information to the physicians, or if the patients are in extreme body mass index, either very high body mass index or low body mass index, then we use also cystatin, to corroborate with the, creatinine-based equations. Yeah.
So you think it's okay to take those if we were to tell our physicians that?
I would caution against taking those, and I would always discuss with the physician to see if you do have any risk of developing kidney disease or anything like that before continuing it. And also, there is no robust, data to show it actually benefits. Again, I know based on what I have seen, there's not long-term studies showing its benefit, but I would definitely discuss with your physician before continuing that.
Yeah, I just hear that it's one of the most studied supplements, but I don't know to what extent. But thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
What happens if somebody has 3 kidneys by birth?
They're lucky for sure,
Okay.
because they have more than 1 million nephrons for sure. But again, you have to understand, we call it accessory kidneys, and so it might not be a functioning kidney at all. So we need to again review the imaging and discuss with the radiologist, and also look at the kidney function as well. We call it accessory kidneys, or sometimes we call it horseshoe kidneys, where both the kidneys are joined at one pole, and it looks literally like a horseshoe. I'm sure Dr. Konda can definitely talk about it. So sometimes, you may have the structure, but may not be really functional as well. Yeah. So you want to look at the structure and you want to look at the function by your blood test. That's how we kind of, say, okay, what is the kidney function for this individual?
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions and maybe a comment after that. The one thing you had mentioned, like postmenopausal spotting can be an indication of, were you talking about kidney cancer or?
Yes. Postmenopausal spotting may indicate either like a cervical infection, uterine infection, or, serious ones like uterine cancer or cervical cancer.
Okay, so nothing to do with the kidney. Okay.
Often it is silent, and sometimes these uterine and the cervical cancers, they can kind of invade the ureters before it comes, and that can cause blockage and leading to kidney disease.
Got it. Okay, that's what I was wondering, how it's connected to kidney. But is there a test that you can do to check that? I mean, if you get spotting, what do you do? Like
you have to see a gynecologist, and they probably will recommend biopsy or DNC or a transvaginal ultrasound. And the reason I mentioned here, because often, patients don't take that seriously. And sometimes we end up seeing very advanced stages of cancer blocking both the kidneys. And sometimes the kidney damage leads to the diagnosis of the cancer. So that's why I always caution postmenopausal spotting, it must be investigated.
Okay. And the other question I was can I ask a couple of more questions? One is, I've seen potassium elevate. I see patients, kidney patients. So the potassium can get elevated. Usually CKD3, they don't need a restriction, but sometimes medications, right? The blood pressure medications also increase the potassium. Which are the medications? Maybe you can mention that so people who are taking can be aware of that.
So the evolution, right? By evolution, we're all protected from high potassium in the blood, because high potassium in the blood can lead to cardiac arrhythmias, meaning irregularities in the cardiac rhythm and hence cardiac arrest, right? So we're all, as long the kidneys are working fine, the potassium levels are maintained. Generally, we start noticing high potassium levels when your kidney function is 20% or less. In diabetics, we see higher potassium even when the kidney function is 30% or less. So the diabetics are quicker or, to manifest this hyperkalemia or develop this hyperkalemia or high potassium than others. Now, in terms of medications, there are several medications that we use for blood pressure. We call it RAS blockers like enalapril, lisinopril, captopril, and ARBs. We call it losartan, valsartan. All of those, they block a pathway that also impairs the excretion of potassium. So if you already have a low kidney function and the kidneys are not able to get rid of the potassium, on top of it, you're blocking a pathway that helps with removal of potassium by these medications. Now you're at a higher risk for having high potassium. Again, these are the medications that's been studied, for decades. And we know these medications are the ones to protect your kidney function. So it's like a double-edged sword. You need this medication, but you also can run the risk of having high potassium. So that's where the renal dietitian is critical, right? They are going to talk to him, and Pushpaji knows more than anyone, talking about low potassium diet. And now we have potassium binders, for patients who've done everything with their diet, but the potassium is still high and they need to take those medications. There are some medications that bind the potassium that's in the diet. We call it Lokelma, Kxalate. There are a couple of medications are out there. We start that with this medication to control the potassium, still get the benefit from these blood pressure medications. So it's kind of a multi-targeted therapy, especially in late stages of kidney disease.
Yeah, that's good, because 30 years ago we didn't have all of that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Now we're supposed. So so another comment. I just wanted to make one comment. I had kidney stone a couple of years ago, and I had gone to Panchakarma in India and came back. So a lot of these Ayurvedic medications, although they're supposed to be safe, they give you the churnams and all that stuff. I don't know if that triggered it, or that's why I ended up with kidney disease, because when they did the surgery and removed it, it just basically became powder. So they couldn't even analyze it for calcium stones or whatever. So I just wanted to caution this group, and I know a lot of Indians tend to take Ayurvedic medications without a doctor telling them to do it. So that is very important. I mean, we don't have studies to show that, it causes kidney, but then like you mentioned, the supplements, you have to be really careful. So I just want to make sure, because I know there are patients, some Indian patients who would come and say, oh, I'm taking Triphala, I'm taking this thing and that thing for years. They don't understand that Ayurvedic medications are not supposed to be taken long-term like that. They should be prescribed by a physician, even if it is not regulated, because you could end up with a lot of damage to your organs. So I just wanted to caution people about that.
Yeah. And to add to that, right? And I'm sure, decades ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, they had all of these Ayurvedic formulations, and probably they had completely a different formulation. What we know is most of the formulations also have heavy metals, right? That is a main problem, is a contamination with the heavy metals. We call it like lead, mercury, cadmium, all of that. They cause severe kidney damage over a long time, right? So that's why we don't know where these formulations are coming from, how they're prepared.
Exactly.
So that's for the reasons why we say, like, do not take any of those Ayurvedic formulations if at all you can. Healthy diet, whatever you cook and eat, that's the best thing. I don't think we need many formulations, so just be careful about anything that's sold over the counter and, in online stores as well.
Great. I think it was great.
Rani has raised her hand. Rani, I don't know if you...
No, I think she already asked the question before.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was great, Dr. Kalyani. It was very, very informative. A lot of good things to learn. I think people don't even think about kidney disease because it's so far away. And I think, and like you said, the statistics, I know the slide didn't come through, but it was like 9 in 10 people walking around may have kidney disease and don't even know about it. So that's a very important point. So we will share this in the YouTube. Hopefully you can go back and listen again. So before we close for today, I just wanted I have Ganapati ji, Mahesh, and Kalyani. We're all part of the Vanaprastha team. So we just wanted to ask a couple of questions just to make it an interactive thing, just to find out for the future. This is going to be our last session for the year. So we wanted to get some feedback as to how you're enjoying this so far. Anybody wants to share, that would be nice. And also some thoughts on what kind of topics would be helpful for the future, so we can start planning for 2026. Anybody want to go? You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and talk.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to get all sorts of information, health and financial and whatnot. But what I feel is that there are several groups in this Vanaprastha because the age range is so vast that the needs of the 50s and 60s is different from the people who are in their 70s and beyond. So if I don't know how you want to, but I have not had any issue listening to all of them. So thank you.
Okay, but if you have any, yeah, no, but you know what? We have to start planning ahead, right? Even the 50s is what you do in 50s and 60s is what leads to problems at 70s and 80s. So
Right.
that's why we need to kind of plan ahead. So that is the idea, especially health conditions. We know that. But any idea for topics, Rashmiji? I mean, you've been a good participant. Thank you so much for joining us every time. It's been nice.
I will think a little bit and send you.
Okay, perfect.
On the top of just
Sure.
like that, it's hard.
No problem. That is also fine. If you all want to, you all have the email. You can always email us and let us know what are some topics you would like to see in the future. Anyone else have anything to share?
I wanted to say thank you so much. A lot of good information was there. And with this talk, we learned a lot, how to manage and what is good and not. And diabetes will be the very good topic to know more. Somebody can talk about it because a lot of us have diabetes
Right.
and it is hard to manage. And hearing these kind of lectures helps.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Sure, you're welcome. Thanks for the idea. I'll write it down. We'll try to find somebody to talk about diabetes, and I can also share about diet for diabetes as well. Anyone else want to share or comment?
Yeah, I actually wanted to share something. Thank you
Sure.
so much, Dr. Perumal, for all the information. I'm actually in my 50s right now, so it was very informative, and it was kind of giving me a precursor to what to expect and how to go forward. I actually wanted to know, this is more like a woman-based thing, but it would really help to have something on perimenopausal health as well for women going
Yeah, I
forward.
think that's a good idea. We'll think of some women's health. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like both peri and postmenopausal, because I'm currently perimenopausal, and so it would be nice to have some information on that. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. And I guess we would have to link it with some men's health as well. Then otherwise, the men won't join us. So we want to get for somebody for both. Anyone else? Anybody else? Okay, so the second question we wanted to, and again, we have I think you all have been getting the emails. So if you can just respond, if you think of any new topics, that would be really helpful for us to plan for the future. And then the second question we were discussing is the date and time. Now, we've always said it as Sunday, 4:30 to 6. Is that a good time? Or we were thinking maybe would Saturday afternoon be a better time for people? Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
Definitely, this is a perfect time. Saturday, people have family issues, and
Okay.
so Sunday,
So
the
stick to
time is
this.
good. Yes.
Okay. All right then. Then we've been doing every 2 months this year. Last year we did every month. It was too much, I think. And then so we're wondering about 26. Should we continue every 2 months or go to a quarterly 4 times a year, with one being in person?
Yeah, I'm not a regular, but I would like the 6 months a year, 6 times a year.
6 times a year. Okay.
I agree too.
Okay.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः